Welcome. Thank you for joining us. My name's Peter Johnson-Staub. I'm the Assistant Town Manager, and I'm going to kick this off. And since we value your time, we're not going to wait for the stragglers. I appreciate everyone taking some time out of their day to take a look at what we've got so far in this very early stage of the design process and to lend us your input. Oh, that's not a good start. So I'm going to just give some quick introductions and review the timeline and the budget for the project. And then I'm going to hand off to Jill Bishop, who is, you all probably know, is the Council on Aging Director. And she's going to give a very quick overview of the programs and services and activities that take place at the Senior Center to provide that backdrop for the conversation about the design of the facility. And then we'll turn it over to our architect, Joel Bergman, to go through the floor plans and the very, very early stages of the exterior elevations. And then finally, and most importantly, we will be seeking your input on those early designs. So first, introductions. The project team that is working with the architect and the owner's project manager consists of Julian Suso, the town manager, myself, Jennifer Petit, the finance director, and Jill Bishop. We are working with Joel Bergman of Bergman Hendry Archetype, Inc. And some of you may know that Joel was also our architect for the feasibility process, so he's already well acquainted with Falmouth, and we're very pleased to have him. He has extensive experience with senior centers throughout the state. And under Massachusetts law, we are required to have an owner's project manager for a construction of a facility of this size, and we have selected Dan Pilata of Project Planning Professionals. We are working with a Senior Center Building Committee appointed by the Board of Selectmen, and the members, several of them are here today. Jim Vieira is our chair. He's also the chair of the Council on Aging. Peggy Nickerson is vice chair. She's with us today as well. Mike Duffany is a builder and a member of the committee. Patrick Callahan is also a building professional. He's not able to be with us tonight. And Dick Bowen is an alternate and also retired from the building trades. Before I go on, I do want to recognize Selectman Moran is here, joining us to hear your input firsthand and to get her first sneak peek at this, at the designs at this early stage. So our charge is to produce a senior center facility that best meets the needs of Falmouth seniors and the community as a whole, and to produce that facility within the available budget of $9.5 million. Fairly simple charge, not so easy to accomplish. Very briefly, our timeline is driven in large part by our budget. The cost estimate that was brought to town meeting was based on an assumption that we would begin construction in the spring of 2019. The costs escalate fairly quickly, so if we slip on that timeline, we run the prospect of being over budget or having to reduce the scope of the project to stay within budget, and we certainly want to avoid that. And to that end, we were encouraged by the owner's project manager to actually set a more aggressive goal, and we are seeking to begin construction this fall in the October-November timeframe to begin construction. So that is a very aggressive timeline that we are seeking to meet. And again, the reason for that aggressive timeline is because the longer we wait, the more inflation eats into our buying power for our existing budget. So we back into that, that target construction date. We are aiming to bring a schematic design to the Board of Selectmen for approval following this public input process. And we would then be preparing to go through design development and have bids hit the street in August or September of this year, with the construction start of October or November. So that's it. I'm going to hand over to Jill to talk a little bit more about the Senior Center and all of the activities that take place there.
Good evening. I'm Jill Irving Bishop, Director of the Senior Center, and thank you for all coming out tonight. This is a very exciting time for our community, as I believe this is a very special project for us all. And I look forward to moving forward with this project. I'd like you to take a moment to read our mission, to give you a little bit about the heart of what the Senior Center is about here. It's about advocating on behalf of senior residents age 60 plus in addressing the needs and identifying and developing resources of assistance, providing information, referrals, and reaching out through outreach to other community agencies, health services, transportation, education, and recreation programs. And our special emphasis is promoting healthy aging and enhancing quality of life. Senior centers, as we look at them, I like people to think of us as the hub to the community. We function as a prominent resource hub and a focal point for the residents of our community. We connect older adults, their caregivers, and their loved ones to vital community services. If you've ever taken a look at our newsletter, which there are copies on the back, you will see there's a great number of programs and services that we offer through the Senior Center, and so many that I'd like to try and simplify it for you. These are the core program components to what a Senior Center offers: outreach and advocacy, support and professional services, health and wellness, and social and recreational. The outreach and advocacy provides information referrals as well as direct services to our seniors. Our outreach works closely with a variety of local, state, and federal agencies in helping to identify the needs for seniors. Our support and professional services, again, we offer a variety of group support services and professional services, such as insurance, legal, tax, and financial counseling. And we also have a wonderful contract with the VNA of Cape Cod through our town nurse connection and collaboration with our outreach in the community, especially to our frail seniors. Our health and wellness, we offer screenings. We offer health and safety educational programs. We have a health fair that's coming up that we offer each spring. And we have a variety of exercise and fitness programs for all levels of abilities. Our social and recreational is what people think most about senior centers as we continue to try and change the perception of senior centers. It's not just about bingo and having lunch. We do offer some great lunch programs, entertainment, chat groups, and groups with special activity interests. We have cultural events and trips as well. So this chart here gives you a little truer picture of how our services are broken out. Again, if you think it's about the social aspect of coming for recreation and lunch, it's not. Recreation and social programs actually fall under other, which is 10%. Our non-elder services, another 10%, are those people who are trying to care for their loved ones who are elderly. We serve a number of family members in guiding them to provide the services for their loved ones. So as you can see, the support service and advocacy makes up more than 50% of what we offer through the Senior Center. As we think about building a new senior center, we have to think about the aging population in Falmouth. Right now, we're about 1/3 the population age 60 and up. And by 2030, we'll be almost 50% of Falmouth's population age 60 and up. As we think about that, we also have to think about the 3 generations of seniors that we serve. We have to think about the different needs and the services that they feel are important to them and that are valuable to them. So as we think about the programs and services that we currently offer and our future programming, we need to take all this into consideration. So again, as we're building this new senior center, changing the perception of senior centers, because senior centers continue to evolve, and they evolve over many, many years to multi-purpose centers, and they will continue to evolve. So as we think about the new senior center, we need to think about creating an environment that is warm and that is welcoming. We need to take into consideration the current programming and the future programming and the needs and wants of seniors of all ages. We need to consider the flexible spaces, and I'll repeat that, the flexible spaces that we need to build within this senior center, and the ability to create structured and unstructured opportunities. And you will see that as our architect, Joel Bergman, goes through the space design of the interior of the building, and as you are able to comment on. I'd also like to share an email address. If you have any outside comments or ideas or thoughts, you can email it to senior@falmouthmass.us. If you need that again, you can grab our newsletter because it is on it as well. So again, any comments, thoughts, or suggestions or concerns, just go ahead and give us an email. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Okay, thanks. My name's Joel Bergman, and I think what we did this afternoon was a good, worked out well. I'm going to go through the plan in some detail. I'll try to use some pictures from other centers to walk you through what we're doing and proposing to do in Falmouth. We're about a month into the process, so it's a good time to get feedback. The plan's not done, so we don't have to tell you it's too late to make any changes. We're here to get comments from you all. I just wanted to build on one thing Jill was saying about the demographics and the population growth, a similar chart that she had. But we like to think about our buildings as being 50-year life cycles. And there's all this growth of the senior population, and people think that's about the baby boomers. But if you think, I was using an analogy of what happened to the schools in Massachusetts in 1980s and 90s when the boomers had children. When you get in 2030 and we have a number of seniors to serve in the senior center, that's going to level out when the children of the baby boomers start occupying the senior center. So this curve isn't necessarily going down. And the reason I start with that is that in 2018, it's presumptuous of us to think about what folks are going to need in 2030 or 2040. So the key of what Jill and the committee has been working at is how do we build the right spaces and how do we create flexibility so this can be a 50-year asset for the community. And Jill sort of gave you the foundation of her programs, which we've converted into 6 pillars of what goes into a community senior center, from don't forget the volunteers, learning, multipurpose spaces, wellness, and then some spaces that we'll talk about in great depth, that aren't really program spaces, but become the heart of the community center. So the site is this area. As you face Gus Canty, it's on the left. It's where the playground is today. And there's an existing parking lot in front of that, and the Commodore's field behind it. The site's quite adequate in area for the building. It's not like it's a tight fit. It does support a 2-story building, which is what we're showing and is very common on our projects these days. In last, I believe it was in the spring, the town had a design done for the restructuring of the parking lot, the police station, the senior center site, and Gus Canty. This is Main Street here, so south, the ball field's up on the top. And that's what we're working with as a template. There are 250 spaces in this complex. I believe that's approximately 60 spaces more than are there today. there'll be a wider entry coming in off of Main Street and a second entry that comes off of Main Street at the far end next to the motel site that will allow folks to come into the parking lot and then also lead out on another road that'll exit out to Dillingham so that you can relieve the exiting traffic from the property. This gravel lane will become a one-way real road. There'll be some additional staff town parking here, and then this parking will be restructured and increased. So we feel comfortable with the amount of spaces that are there. One thing that you have to keep in mind is that the parking lot is used in the summer to get folks to the ball field, and that's something that we'll talk about and continue to develop as the site plan gets worked out. So let me try to use some images and help you envision how this building is going to work. This is a reception counter. It's a smaller site. This is Cohasset, so it's a third of the size of your community. But if you imagine standing, this is the front door here, coming into the building and having a front desk, and then having windows and rooms that look back out to the parking lot. So that's very much how your building works. Here's Main Street on this side, the ball field on the top side, Gus Canty is here, and the front door of the building is right here. And as you come into the building, there's a desk there, that desk with the yellow wall that I showed in that previous picture. So you can check in. There's good controlled access so people know who's in the building. There's a monitor on the wall so you can see what the heck's going on that day. And then there's a two-story space, a hole in the ceiling, so that as you come in, you can see the staff, what's going on, the second floor, your multi-purpose rooms, but you can literally see all the way through the building. And that's really important to the design. That's sort of the vision of our building committee and the Council on Aging, that you come in, you can see through this building and you can see what the offerings are. And it's a very simple and clear diagram. So I mentioned there's a two-story space. I learned this from Duxbury. They have a two-story building and there's no visual connection. And that director used to always complain, although she's now in Situate, when you can't see from one floor to the other, no one knows the second floor is there. So it's not really wasted space. It's a very economical 100 square foot window, as you might say, to the second floor. And this Needham has a similar situation in their center.
Are the schematics of the building you plan to build here?
Yes.
Or are these pictures of other places?
Well, these are pictures of other places that explain how the plan works there. So we have this two-story space as you come in, and this two-story space is like that idea. These are corridor ideas from other buildings that show sort of the width and how the space works and how you can see through the building from one end to the other. And this, I have that because these are really sort of cartoon-like. So we've only been working on the project for 4 weeks, so it's not really all developed. But what this is showing is I come in that front door, there's that reception desk, the monitor, there's the elevator that takes you to the second floor, the multi-purpose room, and you can see all the way back, and I'll get to this cafe in that area, but the vision of what you're offering is there as you come in. The heart of the senior center is this room. It's a multi-purpose room. It's 2,500 square foot, so it's 3 of these rooms. This room that we're in today is roughly this. Here's a dividing wall that goes through it. So here is roughly this space, and then this is 2 of these spaces. And you can, when the room's all open, it'll seat 200 people in chairs. When it's open, it'll seat 200 people at tables for a dining option. And when they're closed and you have smaller groups, there's 70 and 130 people plus or minus in how you set it up. So it's a really great room. It'll have an audio-visual system similar to what's here. This is a really nice system because the sound is even throughout the room. We're not having loudspeakers at the front blaring out at the front row. So the idea is to be able to come in and get to this multi-purpose room quickly, because that's where the crowds come, and it's also a room that could conceivably be used in the evenings for other town events, or it could be used, some of our centers rent those out on weekends to groups as well. But it's backed up by a kitchen. So it's a multi-purpose room. The piece at the end is served by a kitchen. Here you can see what that multi-purpose room is. The big area, the smaller area, backed up by the kitchen that serves out to the dining area. Movable wall so that you can close that off and have, here's the walls closed. You can have dining, you can have the serving counter, and then you can have a completely different program on the other side of that wall. Okay, so when you have all these chairs and tables in these rooms, you want to be able to store those someplace. So you can see in the plan, we have this nice big 200 square foot multi-purpose storage room for tables and chairs to serve that area. And then we go into the back, into the kitchen. So most people think these kitchens are like your high school or a commercial kitchen with stainless steel equipment, and they're really hard to use. And our idea in this making a building that's going to last and be used by volunteers and all age groups potentially is a more usable kitchen like you'd have in your house. So these are identical pictures. You have the stove, the window. The equipment's the same, but this is in Needham, and everybody can use that kitchen. And this is in Cohasset, and they need a chef to operate that kitchen. So when everybody can use it, it's a program space. You can have a chef come in and do a cooking program. You can have volunteers making the lunches, making the breakfast. It really changes the dynamic of the kitchen. So it's still a full commercial kitchen, but this similar idea in Randolph, a very user-friendly type operation. So the other things about this kitchen is there's a place to drop your trash, your plates, gets the trash out to the street, on the back side of the building, walk-in coolers. You want to be able to have support space so that you can buy bulk foods and really make this a great operation for the seniors. Yes?
I'm sorry. It looks to me like the toilets in the back there are open to the outside.
Thank you. I hadn't gotten there yet. These are two toilets that support the baseball field and the basketball court. So they're at the level of the sidewalk. They're accessed from the outside, because when we really thought about supporting them and letting them come into the building, it seemed like it's going to make it dirty and a security issue. Thank you. I forgot to mention that earlier. That was... Pardon me? Right. Okay, so I mentioned that when you come in the front door, you really want to see all the way through to this. This is really the lobby of the building. This is more functional. Go into the rooms, get in the elevator. The heart of the building is here. And why is that? Well, the front of the building's in basically looking at the parking lot. The back of the building has a nice patio between Gus Canty and the new building. So that's a 30 by 40, 1,200 square foot patio that we can go to town with on the landscaping. And then it looks out, the nice view out is the north to the ball field, and across the ball field to the swamp, the wetland. And the other thing is there's a fireplace and bookshelves and a TV monitor above here. So this really becomes the sort of lobby space. Some of the lobby spaces are more formal. So you have the fireplace, you have, we'll have a TV above it. Here you would have simulated that view out to the ball field. That's a formal version of it. Sort of the discussion that we've had is maybe make it more like a coffee bar with tables, couches, loose seating, a more flexible space. If you look at it, you can see the number of different furniture options. There can be a lot of people in there. It's a 700 square foot lobby space that sort of is doing a number of things, but it's back here next to the kitchen. So the kitchen also has a serving window here, so you can serve snacks, coffee, sandwiches. So it really becomes sort of the heart of the building. And then the last part of it is the restrooms are here, and we have the rest of the admin space there with the director's office, with those windows that I showed you in that opening. These folks that are the admin control can see out to the street. So it's very simple, but it's very nice, I think, plan.
Can I ask you two questions?
Sure.
All right. It looks like there are stairs in the back of.
Is this on? It looks like there are stairs in the back of the cafe is one question. And is that an elevator behind the volunteer station?
There's an elevator here. There's a main stair that's more like at a house when you come in, an open balustrade stair that takes you to the second floor. And there's another stair here. This stair is mostly for egress. We need two means of egress off of the upstairs. And just once again, this is that idea of coming in, seeing the reception desk, seeing the monitor, having bulletin board, elevator, and then back to that lobby, cafe. Here's the snack bar opening into the cafe area, and then looking back there you can see the stair taking you to the second floor. So taking you to the second floor, if you use the stair, you land here. If you use the elevator, you land here. But both of those are sort of around this hole that looks down. So the idea is to get some activity around that space so folks see things going on and want to go up to the second floor. I'll walk you through through the side. I call this sort of the Russian doll of program rooms, and I think it's really a great idea that the committee and the programming developed. You start with a 250 square foot conference room for 12 people. And then we have a 400 square foot program room. Then you have a 600 square foot arts and crafts flexible program room, an 800 square foot program room, and then 1,200 square foot wellness. So each room, as you go up, gets larger. And we spent a lot of time on this. It looks very simple, but the idea was if we could get flexibility in the spaces and not have to do that all with movable partitions, you have much better acoustics. You don't spend money on the movable partitions. And what we've been able to get is such a variety of spaces. You don't always want to be in a room like this if there are only 4 people. You can go in the conference room. If there are 12 people, you can go here. There's great variety. And the way these rooms can be used, this happens to be a game room, but when you fold up the ping pong table, that can become an arts and crafts space. So flexibility, making them so that they can be used in many different ways. And it's the thing that we'll talk about in the next 4 weeks is we're very schematic now. We'll talk about those rooms. Some senior centers go very generic and flexible, and others make like purpose-built. I want a real man's billiard room, and that's the kind of thing that we'll talk about and can be accommodated going forward. This is an example of that 800 square foot multi-purpose room. This is a little bit, Randolph has a very interesting design idea about their space with opening doors and very modern contemporary lighting and that. But it gives you a sense of how many seats and how flexible that 800 square foot space can be. That's this room. So you have arts and crafts, nice big closet, program room, a nice big storage room, so tables and chairs can be moved around these different rooms and use them. And then I didn't talk much about wellness, but at 1,200 square foot, the idea is to have senior-oriented fitness equipment, stretching area, weights, exercise equipment that's not really the kind of equipment that's at the Gus Candy, that's more for all ages. But this can be serving those 3 age groups that Jill is always reminding us. You're not just serving one senior cohort. People have different needs. And so we really made this a little bit bigger than we do in other buildings so that we can address those different groups. You have a fitness instructor area, a cubby area so you can put your belongings, an area for stretching, and then you still have plenty of space for your equipment. On this side, the last program room is a game room, which has a lot of things in it. It's a TV, soft seating area, maybe a game, soft seating area with the view in the back, card tables, pool table. These could be chairs on wheels that we can move off to the side and bring in a ping pong table on wheels. So that room can be used in different ways, carrying through this idea of flexibility and change. And I have this on with the wellness picture because as you think about the multipurpose room on the first floor and the wellness room on the second floor, I don't want to forget that right next door is a full-size gym. So, we have a similar situation in Andover, and the senior center goes to the gym next door early in the mornings. They can use this up until noon, and they get their walking programs, their pickleball programs, and other things in. And there's a great sharing opportunity that can be developed over time, we think. So knowing that this is next door, that's influenced a little bit of the programming. All right, and then the last piece is there's a 2,000 square foot basement that has sort of general storage, some general space, some health storage. So where do you put the extra wheelchairs, walkers, things that are loaned out to residents, file storage, custodial closet, that goes in the basement. We're looking, someone suggested earlier today, should that go in the attic? We'll take a look at that. All right, so I said I'd get through the plans and ask questions. I think it's sort of hard to get through the elevations and hold all your questions. So if folks want to make any comments now, let's talk about the plan. Yes, sir.
Is there any thought or consideration of maybe moving the administration, the administrative offices, director and everything else upstairs to minimize the use of minimize that the elderly have to use the stairs or the elevator?
Yeah.
Put as much downstairs as possible and the administrative offices upstairs?
Yeah, so let's Jill talk about that. It's a good question.
Actually, on the first floor, the administrative space is actually not very large, but your key pieces that you need in that administrative space is the reception people, the administrative assistant, and my office. One other position potentially there is a program coordinator. So it's minimal staffing that's in that corner. You need to, I take myself through the building, so when a senior walks in, there's questions right off the bat. There's people we need to assist. And so we do need some administrative staff on the first floor. Joel didn't point out on the second floor is where we have some of our outreach services, our professional services, our health office, and some of our part-time transportation coordinator, all on the second floor. So we've kind of split it up, but I think having staff on each floor is very important for the connection with the seniors. So, but thank you for that question.
Yeah, no, I missed that. There are two professional offices, and the professional offices are where part-time people like a lawyer or an accountant can come in and provide counseling. There's a outreach coordinator, and then the health office inboard here with their water and counter that they need to run the health department, and you have transportation here. So there's sort of a gatekeeping. You come upstairs, you get off the elevator, you can ask a question and get directed on that second floor.
The goal with that on the second or reception was so that people aren't just wandering around trying to find someone to help them. There's going to be a visible staff person. Plus, we always want to oversee if there's any concerns that need to happen at the senior center. We're right there and we're visible all the way through both floors on the buildings through these open concepts.
Is it having that open stairway? It looks nice, not the stairway, but that opening to the second floor. Heat-wise,
Heat-wise?
heat-wise,
Yeah, well, you're saying some heat's going to rise up through that, but it doesn't go up to a cathedral ceiling. It might go from the first floor to the second floor, but then it gets recirculated through the building. So it's not an inefficient feature, I would say.
what kind of heat are you anticipating?
It's a little complicated, but it's called a VRF system, which is the technical term is a variable refrigerant heating and cooling system. The gist of it is, it's a wonderful system for a senior center because each room is on its own control device. So if you want this room to be 80 and this room to be 68, you can set it that way. If you want this room to be on heat at 10 o'clock and on cooling at 2 o'clock, you can also do that as well because different folks want different temperatures, different types of activities need different temperatures. So it's a great system. We have it in 2 other senior centers, and we're putting it in the Andover Senior Center as a retrofit now because they see the benefit of doing it. The other beauty of it is that this side of the building is south, and this side is north. The variable refrigerant, it's like a computer network. All these rooms go back to a central hub. So it doesn't necessarily have to generate heat. It can move heat from the south side of the building that's going to be hot at noon to the north side of the building that's cool, and vice versa. If you want to cool this area, it'll move the cold temperature from one room to the other. So it's a very great nuanced type system for these buildings, and it's much better than what you have seen in VAV type systems or fan coil type systems in the past.
Are you planning the roof line to maybe accommodate solar panels?
We have pitched roofs that can accommodate solar panels.
But are they facing the right way?
Well, they face east and west,
South.
but
I haven't seen, did you have an exterior plan?
we have some to show you.
Just a quick question. Where did people hang their coats?
Well, that's a great question. We've had a lot of discussion about it, and in the multipurpose room, there happens to be a coat closet, but in a lot of buildings in the past we've put coat rooms in the hallway, and people actually don't like it. They like to have the coats in the rooms, so we can sort of theme out some really neat coat hooks that have to do with Falmouth and maybe, I don't know. It's an idea to develop where you can bring your coat into the room. Some people want to just put it on their chair. Some people are going to wear it. And some people will hang it on the coat hook. But we found like the central coat room just doesn't get used well.
I have a question about the wellness center, and I was wondering if there's going to be any room there for classes at all, because Gus Canty has classes in it in the basketball arena, but it's not very good. The floor is really, really hard.
Yep.
The wellness center is going to be specific to fitness equipment and some stretching areas. The wellness classes that we offer at our current senior center, and will encompass some of the ones that are using the gym space that don't necessarily need gym space. That's where our multi-purpose room comes into play, and some of these flexible spaces on the upper floor that we'll be able to utilize for classes. We will be discussing the floors as we progress in this. But yeah, like right now, for instance, there's programs that utilize the rec center gym space that don't actually need a gym space, they just need the bigger multi-purpose type of room. That frees the gym space up for programs that actually need the gym, such as a pickleball or a basketball program.
Yeah.
I'll be,
I'm sorry, you have one gentleman in front of you, and then we'll get right back. He must be
Sure.
Thank you, it was a great presentation.
Oh, thank you, Joel.
When I look at this,
Okay, if you could hold the mic up so the cameras
I see,
at home can pick you up. Sure, it's on.
well, you guys can hear me. I see a rectangle, I like the multi-purpose, because no one's locked into something. Well, you can't do that here. That only happens in that room, you have to go away, and so it's not like that.
Sir,
I see rectangles.
We're broadcasting this, and they can't hear you unless you put the
well,
microphone
that's
to your
what's
mouth.
a
It's
different color,
on,
isn't
it's
it?
on, just put it to your mouth. There you go.
I see a rectangle, it's a shape everyone's familiar with, like this room. Public space, you gotta study this. And rectangles, and can we look at the first floor again, please? And when I see this, I don't really see the rectangle here. I see a bunch of L-shaped stuff. I don't know, that's just me, but what are the dimensions of this right here?
That's 40 feet wide, and it's about 70 feet long.
You've done your homework and been to a lot of senior centers.
It's a pretty typical, well, the committee also went to a bunch of them and looked at everything from 3,000 square feet to 1,500 square feet. And in discussing the program, we settled on 2,500 square foot as the optimum size.
I think it's gonna be a nice modern building, we like that. Have you ever been to the Yarmouth Senior Center?
No.
It's 50 by 75, one big rectangle, and right in the middle is a partition. I think if anyone ends up in the small room, they might end up complaining, because people complain about everything. One partition right in the middle, 50 by 75. So you have two groups can share them, space, or you get rid of it and it's one big.
Right, well, that's a movable partition here.
Oh, does it move back and forth?
No, it goes across here, so you have a 1,000 square foot room and a 1,500 square foot room when the partition's closed. And then when it's open, you have a 2,500 square foot room.
What kind of flooring will you have?
Perfect segue to our next question.
Oh, is that my cue to leave?
I think so.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I do, I already went to the 2 o'clock meeting, and so they know how, it is on, right? So I did get a petition, and I got about 100 signatures, and I'm going to read it. It's, we, the undersigned, petition the Falmouth Senior Center Building Committee to install a wood floor in the multipurpose room to maximize its use for seniors. Low-impact activities such as walking, dancing, stretching, and Tai Chi work best on a wood floor and foster good health, injury prevention, and community. The most effective material to meet seniors' requirements would be a natural wood surface with a cushioning system, a sprung wood floor with foam underneath. The aesthetic value of a wood floor, a classic New England design, would further its value as a cultural resource, a source of pride to everyone in the community. The new senior center will affect the lives of people in the community for many years. We urge you to install a system that will enhance the quality of those years. And I would like to add that the dance community would contribute funds if appropriate.
Any other?
Last call for floor plans before we go to exterior elevations.
Is that a walkway?
One second, sir.
I go to the senior center at least 3 or 4 times a week now. I'm an avid supporter of it, and I feel that you have done a lot of research. I respect the people that work there who know what goes on there, and I respect your input as an architect showing these flexible spaces. I worked my whole career in manufacturing and engineering businesses where we had flexible walls and offices, and I think that they can work really well, and it shows me the commitment for the future for the seniors here, and I just want to applaud you for your these initial efforts. I think you did a great job.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is that a walkway or a passageway to Gus Candy there? Sometimes,
Yes, thank
in
you.
the past, I've seen yes and no.
We're looking at the option, right now we're showing a connection through there. We have site surveyors out there today getting site measurements, and this is the we're looking at this more over the next 4 weeks, how that connector works and whether it's actually necessary or not. So it's a, thank you for raising that. Yeah.
I'm just wondering if you ever considered putting a pool in the senior center. I don't know, I haven't been following this that closely.
I can take that question. A pool is a resource that many in the community are very interested in. It's a very high cost to maintain and operate, so no is the short answer to that question. There is as you may be aware, there are a couple of private nonprofits who are in feasibility and fundraising stages looking at constructing a pool here in town.
All right, so we've had a lot of time or 4 weeks. Peter set me up really well at this, and when he talked about how short the schedule is and how fast we're working. So it's been a lot of work to get the plan developed. And I think I like the plan a lot. I think it's really nice, and I think it's a foundation that we can build on, which keeps us on schedule. What follows the plan is the elevations, and what we thought is that it would be, as a committee and our architecture team, thought it'd be great to meet with you about the plans and show you where we might go with the elevations before things are so developed where you tell us you want to do something and we say, no, it's too late to do it. So the purpose of getting here tonight, and when things aren't completely solid, is to get the feedback. And I preface that because I'm going to show you some drawings that are going to look a little bit cartoon-like, and I just want people to remember that a building looks like this. The architectural drawings look very schematic, and the materials and the columns and that and the landscaping need to be filled in imaginatively. But this other message here is sort of a topic that comes through in our elevation studies. So the two gable ends and why that might become an appropriate theme for the building. What you have on this side of the screen is the Gus Canty. So you have the gym, the stair tower, the entry, and the two-story multi-purpose space. And with this sort of elevation of up and down and New England-y scale, what we were looking to do is make a building that would be the senior center, 2 stories, that would feel as a part of the streetscape, so to speak, with Gus Canty, but have a distinguished look. So it's a similar scale, similar breakdown of shapes, but a distinguished, separate look from the other buildings. So that's sort of 2 gable ends works nicely with the plan of the 2 gable ends, and then there's a center section that has the mechanical equipment hidden from views and that in the building. So that's one idea. There's a porte cochere that extends out from the building to the edge of the driveway, the edge of the drop-off area, so you can get out of your car and then be undercover. And what we're doing is the senior center, we're doing everything we can to get it at the sidewalk level. As you know, Gus Canty is up 2 feet from the sidewalk level. So that connector that the gentleman mentioned is actually making a 2-foot difference in elevation from the senior center. But we just don't want to have that barrier of stairs or a ramp when you come in. And it's very preliminary, but the idea is this building is trying to make it feel like it fits in, and what the color is and what the materials are to be developed. So we showed our first elevations last Thursday, and here we are Tuesday. So this is a work in progress. There you can see that porte cochere idea. There's a stone base on the building so that the snow and the snow shovels and the salt don't erode the material. So our stone base we're thinking of is maybe underneath the windows. Maybe as we get along the side of the multipurpose room, it could come up higher. The other element of this drawing is things that we're studying is a very common shingle style element is to go from 2 stories to 1 story. That's the kind of thing that could be done at the entry. I don't know that it works completely, but the idea was to have that roof come down and define the entry as another element. Here's another way to look at it. Bigger porte cochere, but also some folks had mentioned a hip roof. I don't think the hip roof works stylistically that well, but it does give you a small area that faces due south. If we can afford, or if they put solar panels on this later, they're on the east and west facades, which can work, but it's optimum facing the south facade. And that's the difference between the hip and the gable kind of roof. So we'll take any comments on these ideas, and then we need to go back to work and develop the 3 dimensions. We need to develop the site. Thank you for the question about the mechanical system, because those are all things that take off starting this week.
Hip roofs hold up better on a hurricane.
Hip roofs hold up better in a hurricane.
Okay?
I strongly suggest, hope for, a better roof line. I don't think you should go by what the Gus Canty looks like to me. On that diagram you have there, it almost looks like a farm with barns and a silo. I don't think it's an exceptional architectural line, and to copy that, I'd much rather have a roof line where you get full southern exposure.
Where you get full what?
Southern exposure, and more southern, have more of those windows on south.
Okay.
So the 2 comments, one was the roof line and the second was more southern exposure.
I'm curious as to why you're using high-end summer homes as a comparison for a senior center.
Yeah.
Those are summer homes.
We were trying to show materials that were indicative of Cape Cod, Falmouth, that were indigenous to the area, and that it's hard to explain those in the renderings.
I understand perfectly. You're trying to blend in with the local architecture.
Pardon me?
You're trying to blend in with the local architecture.
I understand that the floor plan itself was designed with the broad roofs facing east and west. If you intend to put panels on that, that's not, in other words, it's desirable to have panels facing due south for the most part. If you had conceived of a building with the roof facing due south, even though it was not contradictory to the way the Gus Canty goes, would that have presented any problems to you?
I think it's something that we could look at.
I can answer that for him. The house would be, it would look like someone turned a house sideways to the street, and the entryway would be on the end. And it's done that way for a reason. People don't need to have them facing south anymore. They just put them on wherever the roof is, and then they'll turn facing on. Get them out again. It's not like the old days where it had to be due south.
But if you're building something from scratch, which this is, it would be nice to have the opportunity to place solar panels on it.
They will put them on, they just won't face due south.
Joel, is there space to reorient the building so that it's longer going this way?
Well, I don't think you want to turn the building 90 degrees because then it faces the sally port of the police, and the grade on this side is such that the entry wouldn't move. I think the entry wants to face the parking lot, so I don't think could you turn the roofs 90 degrees? It's possible.
So the roofs, but not the building.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'd be looking at a new lot to put the buildings on.
still fit the line in that same space. You wouldn't have to necessarily change sites. If you change the design to fit into the same space, it could always be done that way. The designs are flexible at any time. You can fit any kind of building on a space that you want.
Okay, so we've registered the comment about more southern exposure for solar panel optimization, and we will take a look at that.
What I was getting at is I don't think you want to take the building and rotate it so that the entry is here. You really want the building entry to face where the majority of the parking is. Yeah. What?
We have a comment in the back.
Can I ask you why the basement space is so tiny in proportion to the whole building?
The
Scale when you have the basement?
Yeah, the allocation on the building is 17,000 square feet. So the program from the town was for 2,000 square feet, and the basement 15,000 square feet above.
Why waste that potential space? What's going to be under is that just going to be filled?
It won't be filled, it won't be excavated under the rest of the building. So we'll only excavate the small area, and the basement was chosen to locate by the elevator and the stair. And by keeping it the size we have, we only need one stair to go to the basement for egress.
So there's no consideration that maybe that space could be used for something? Why you dig it a hole?
It was a budget issue. So the budget is driven by total square footage, and the original proposal was 15,000 square feet. And at a late stage in the budget process leading up to town meeting, 2,000 square feet was added for storage. So the reason it's not 10,000 square feet is because of cost.
And mechanical.
Well, I'm not saying you have to use it right away, I'm just saying, why not put it in? In case you want it down.
Because of cost.
It's a hole.
Well,
Hi, is this on? So, all right, right there. Thank you. So therefore, you're saying that the large multipurpose room on the first floor, that's going to be put on a slab? Right, so that is why we need to have the floor be flexible so that our knees, our shins, our ankles, and our planters don't get plantar fasciitis, so that we can use it for multi-purposes. So thank you.
any other comments? Okay. Great, well,
Thank you very much. So again, this will be going to, with your input, back to the Senior Center Building Committee, and then the next step will be the Board of Selectmen will have a public meeting to look at a final schematic design, and then we'll proceed with design development. Thank you again. And remember, if you have other comments that you want to send to us, you can send that to seniors@falmouthmass.us, and the address is on the back of the newsletter.